For more on that, let's welcome in attorney and Republican strategist Aaron Elmore, Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps, and former National Press Secretary for the Trump campaign and Principal Deputy Press Secretary at the White House, Hogan Gidley. Good morning, all. Great to have you on this Thursday morning. Hogan, we'll start with you. What do you make of that right there? Wouldn't the American people rather if that advisor said there's no stopping Joe Biden when it comes to gas prices, inflation, the baby formula crisis, crime? How about the border? None of that. It's all about climate.
Well, they say that too, though. They say the number one priority of this president, his laser focus is on getting inflation down, which would obviously be a mission of failure because they can't do that either. Look, the green energy people out there in this country make up an infinitesimal amount of the American citizenry. The Joe Biden administration is beholden to that small amount. For whatever reason. Their people do not adhere to their own prescriptions of reducing carbon emissions by any stretch of the imagination. Joe Biden ought to be focused on what the American people are focused on, and that's high gas prices, high grocery prices. He won't focus on that. He can't talk about the things he actually has control of because it's an admission of failure. Instead, he focuses on things he cannot change, like the climate. But the American people want the administration, want their government officials to try and focus on the things that they care about. The Joe Biden administration clearly doesn't share that same view.
Aaron, Joe Biden visited a coal plant that had been shut down years ago in Massachusetts, Somerset, Mass. This is not far from where I grew up. The plant closed years ago, several years ago. Hundreds of people lost their jobs. They were promised wind energy. The wind energy still hasn't arrived. The town is in shambles as a result. But the company that's building the wind energy is headquartered in Italy. They're an Italian company. So this is an administration that just seems like they are completely out of touch with what's going on in the lives of everyday Americans.
Absolutely. And we are certainly seeing a president that does not have an America first agenda. It really appears like it's an America last agenda. And those towns you speak of, I am from one. My grandfather was a coal miner. So I see the devastation that goes on in these communities. Instead of our president saying, I'm here to help you and offer solutions and bring jobs to your small communities, he says things like learn how to code. So you see someone with an approval rating from Quinnipiac, it's 31%, and you know exactly why. And if you watch that speech yesterday, like I did, he talks about people getting cancer and oil on the windshield. Nothing makes sense. And these people that are struggling to put gas in their car, struggling to put food on the table, he offers absolutely no solutions. And honestly, it's disgraceful and sad, and we deserve better. And hopefully the midterms will show this president exactly what the American people want. And it's not more Democrats that are doing nothing but worry about, I don't know, pronouns and some sort of environmental issues that aren't impacting us on a daily basis.
Yeah, and we were just showing you this scene. You can tell they threw this trip together last minute, Chris. He's on the site of where this coal plant used to be. He's there with John Kerry, our climate czar, who flies all around the world, private. Nobody knows how much he's spending, but he's tackling climate via private jet. He's there with Elizabeth Warren as well. What'd you make of this trip yesterday, Chris?
You know, that poll that you cited at the beginning of the show, that's one of 3 polls that came out this week showing the president's approval from 38% down to 31%. In one of those polls, it showed that 1% of the American people are concerned about climate change. So this is an issue that Americans aren't concerned about. They're concerned about inflation. They're concerned about gas prices. They're not concerned about green energy. And I think this press conference yesterday just showed just how out of touch this administration is and how much they are beholden to the far left green energy zealots.
Hogan, let's talk about the poll. So 31%. This is lower than Donald Trump. This is Quinnipiac, too. Harry Truman, he was at 32%. That's the lowest he ever got. And he ended up winning the 48 election. Harry Truman was at 32%, 1946. Is there any way Joe Biden can put this back together like Harry Truman did years and years ago?
Of course, and I'll tell you how. If Republicans take back the Congress in 2022 in the midterms, it's going to serve to stop Joe Biden's radical ideology and agenda items from actually getting implemented. If that becomes the case, the economy will start to do better. Obviously, gas prices will start to go down, and the American people could give Joe Biden the credit. I'm not sure, though, that typical trend that happens in past presidential years will apply to Joe Biden because he'll be 2 years older by then. We all know he can't put it together a coherent sentence right now. We also know he's doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on these policies that negatively impact the American people. And so while he'll try to run against Congress, I don't think the American people are sitting where Joe Biden is as it relates to issues like climate change, also pronouns that Aaron brought up, and the transgender movement, et cetera. And Joe Biden, I don't think, is going to let go of that tight embrace he has on those radical issues.
I'm thinking to myself this morning, Aaron, how can I put this into perspective? How bad this number really is, 31%, how historic it is. Richard Nixon, who was forced to resign, all right, or he would have been impeached, the lowest he ever got was 24%. Joe Biden, pretty close, 31%. All right, Pete Buttigieg, he's out there talking about Americans buying electric cars. He says that Americans are having a really tough time letting go of their gas-powered cars and trucks. Take a listen.
I'm still astonished that some folks, and I felt this, I was testifying in Congress yesterday, some folks seem to really struggle to let go of the status quo.
Aaron, your reaction to that?
Mayor Pete, we can't afford to let go of the cars that we have and just let them eat cake and buy another electric car. That's not how it works. And a lot of Americans that have to take long trips with their families because they can't afford to fly anymore are saying, okay, so if I'm going to get this electric car, just assuming I can afford it, which you can't, you have to charge these cars somewhere. I know someone that made a road trip from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, which is about 5 hours, and there was nowhere in the middle to charge their car, and they were at risk of breaking down. These cars aren't necessarily a reality for everyone, especially in this inflated economy where, you know, people are struggling, like I said earlier, to put food on the table and gas in the car. Let them eat cake. The Marie Antoinette is Pete Buttigieg through and through. And these people in Washington are so out of touch with everyday Americans. It's absolutely astonishing and mind-blowing.
Yeah, it really is. Electric cars, according to Kelley Blue Book, the average cost, and this is the exact average cost, $66,000, wow. $997. How many people can afford that? Not to mention electric prices, Chris, are up 13% year over year.
And there's other aspects of these cars, too, regarding the batteries. I remember reading a story a couple of months ago about one of the batteries went dead on one of these Teslas, and the cost of a new battery was like $20,000. And so instead of buying a new battery, the guy just scrapped the car. He made a social media video of him having the car destroyed because it just wasn't worth it to him to pay $20,000 for a new battery.
And not to mention the fact that these batteries cost a lot to actually manufacture and hurt the environment more than a regular car. What someone needs to do is put a quick ad together of all those people stranded out on I-95 during the ice storm last year, where Northam did nothing to help them out, and then just put up on the screen, imagine if all these cars were electric. All those people would be dead.
Good point.
They would have frozen to death.
Yeah.
And when you want to charge your electric car, guess what you're plugging into?
Yeah.
The power grid. There's
exactly.
stuff out there.
Coal-powered power grid.
Like, so how are you charging this car?
Yep. Good point.
Not wind.
Aaron Hogan, Chris, we'll leave it there. We'll pick it back up at the top of the hour. Looking forward to that.